Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Junior Sport Podcast with Naim. Yeah, I know it's been a long time, but I've been dealing with some more personal matters as well as COVID 19 contamination within the past 2 months, hence the long but well deserved break. Now, enough about me. My guest today is someone who has represented the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago at the world's biggest events and has performed tremendously on many other opportunities. A record 5-time Olympian with a bronze medal from Athen 2004 in the 50-meter international medley, 10-time World Championship finalist with 2 bronze medals, 6-time medalist at the Pan Am Games, the Caribbean region's most successful swimmer and a former world record holder. It's a great honor for me today to host a Trinidadian national icon, swimming legend, and master of himself, George Bovell III.
Thank you, Naim. It's an honor to be on your show. Very grateful. Hopefully we can explore some topics that will help people understand things a lot more clearly.
Yeah, I hope so too, George. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you again for giving me the opportunity to chat with you and learn so much about you, about swimming, about your life after swimming. And I must say that when I first began doing research, I can remember that I was doing school projects about you many years ago, of our top athletes, Arthur Bolden, George Bovell, Brian Lara, and your face was always in my project. So thank you for being a childhood hero.
Oh, my pleasure.
Super. Now, George, 25 plus years in the pool. How did the journey start? I mean, it's a long time, 5 Olympic Games.
Well, the journey started as just picking it up as a sport because I enjoyed swimming and thought I wanted to get a little bit better at it, just learn to swim basically, and then going into pre-competitive, then competitive, the way everybody starts, I guess. And for me, I learned to swim when I was very young, so it came naturally.
Okay, and this all happened in Trinidad and Tobago?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was was your family involved in swimming, or did you just pick it up as a hobby?
My father was a good swimmer. I think he won the Central American and Caribbean Games.
Okay.
He swam in university in Canada at McGill. But for me, it really just started at a swim club called Flying Fish in Port of Spain, Flying Fish Swim Club. Yeah. And from there, it's a long journey, but when you're beginning, you're never thinking that you're training for the Olympics or you're training to go to the World Championships or to try and get a scholarship. When you're that age, you're just doing it because you love it.
Yeah, I agree.
Perspective all the way down. Even when you're in the Olympic finals, you have to ask yourself, why am I really doing this? I'm doing this because I love it. It's fun. Let's go enjoy it. Let it enhance my life.
You make a good point, right? It's fun and you love it. And a lot of athletes have this stress on them now. And I think I have it too at many points where we don't enjoy it or realize that we love it so much. We should have fun a bit more with it instead of putting pressure on ourselves that we have to win, we have to perform. And then a lot of us crash. Strange feeling, right?
Well, there's this interesting dichotomy between you have to love and enjoy what you do, but at the same time, for something to be really worthwhile, it has to challenge you, has to force you to grow. And in order to grow, these challenges are going to come and put you in very difficult situations that will be stressful, that will be difficult. So there can be this sort of love-hate where it's difficult, but you love it. It's difficult, but it's necessary for you to grow. It's necessary for you to become a better version of yourself with more self-awareness and more self-control as you go down this path.
Wow, George. Now, in the beginning, when you first began swimming, was swimming a dominant sport or a popular sport in Trinidad and Tobago?
Swimming never was. It was very small, and we tend to get so hung up on this idea of the sport, these athletes. We can't really see things clearly sometimes. We become fanatics. And when you're a fanatic, you never know you're a fanatic because you're surrounded by other fanatics. Now, an athlete is a relatively new thing. It's only been around in the last 100 years, really. A coach, same thing. But if we really have to look at this clearly, it's important that if you are going down the path of sports, that you see it for what it is, see it as a path to self-mastery, see it as a way to progress, to work on yourself by doing a sport, to improve yourself, to improve your ability to have more self-control. And it doesn't matter if it's badminton, if it's tennis, if it's swimming, if it's water polo, if it's cycling. These are all different disciplines, different paths to take you into very difficult situations that force you to grow. Now, the more difficult the path is, the better it is for your growth.
But growth, how? In what way exactly? I mean, how are you growing when you're going through difficulty after difficulty? You sacrifice time with family, you travel all the time, you put yourself through all this pressure and training and stuff. Where is that growth?
Okay, that growth is really coming through these lessons and challenges. First of all, you are learning how to learn.
Okay.
And that will be very, very important as you progress through life. It's a skill set, and you can take that skill set, and if you want to learn something for your professional career or something for a hobby or some art form, you can learn these things much faster than regular people because you have learned how to learn on a very deep unconscious level. So first of all, you're learning how to learn. Second of all, you're learning how to face challenges. Now, challenges, they're going to come regardless if you're doing sports or not. But if you're in sports, you're purposely seeking out these challenges, these competitions, these finals, these qualifications, these championships. Sometimes maybe in your sport, in badminton, it comes down to 1 point, do or die,
Yeah.
Big challenge, a lot of pressure. So a challenge brings with it always, this is the way it works in life. Every challenge brings with it a moment of weakness. And in the moment of weakness comes the perfect excuse, the perfect reason. It seems like a reason why you'd be okay with yourself if you gave up. Maybe you didn't sleep enough. Maybe you had corona last month. Maybe you had a big exam yesterday. Whatever it was, the excuse will come up. And you have to be strong enough, inner strength. I'm talking real, this is what real strength is. Real strength is inner strength. To control your mind. Not to take that excuse and to hold and to push through that moment of weakness. And as you push through that moment of weakness, your strength starts to return. You start to think in more positive ways. You let go of that whole idea of the excuse that you were so eager to take. And then you start to see the victory coming. Now, every challenge brings with it this moment of weakness. This is the test. And if you make it, you gain more confidence, you gain more willpower, so the next challenge is easier. But the opposite is also true. If you give up and you take the excuse, it's easier for you to take that excuse next time in the moment of weakness.
But then the challenge next time might be harder.
It gets harder next time because you get weaker.
Yeah.
Everything gets easier when you get stronger. Everything gets easier as you get stronger. Now, life is hard. We have to be strong if you want to have a good life.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about strength to not just to surmount challenges, but strength to sometimes take the choice that might be for some short-term pain, long-term gain. I'm talking about the choice maybe to have a strong enough mind to resist certain temptations that you know are bad for you.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can go after what is good for you and keep progressing. So these challenges in sport, they come up and they're opportunities for us to increase our willpower, because every time you make that challenge, you upgrade yourself and the next challenge gets even easier. Until before you know it, you're breaking world records. Things that were the most challenging things to do, you can do now because you've made your mind so strong. Now, we tend to think about sport as athletes, we tend to think a lot about the physical body. What if you're looking at a great player, a great performance? What you're really looking at is a person who has attained a certain level of control over their mind. Because by controlling the mind, you control the body.
And
So
controlling your mind, you're referring to discipline and all that.
yes, it's and the ability to focus. The mind is what is controlling the body. So we think it's physical, but it's really, really very mental.
Okay, now I have to ask you. So you've been in the pool for 25 plus years. Uh, you've been dominating for quite some time, but would you say it's your mind that had you strong to keep going for all those years, or was it motivation from some from a external source of some sort?
Of course, it's never easy to continue. There are always challenges, there are injuries, there are setbacks. And coming from Trinidad, I believe it was somewhat of a handicap compared to people from more developed countries in the world. Our facilities were very third world. Um, Even our access to top level like sports science, that is all limited. It was a great challenge. But of course, because it was such a good challenge, it was a great opportunity for me to grow and for me to rise above my environment. Because we have to understand that Trinidad's environment is not exactly conducive to excellence. It tends to be a culture that celebrates mediocrity.
Yeah,
Like you leave, you're in Denmark now practicing.
yeah.
Now, if you were just in Trinidad and you were just content, winning the national championships, you wouldn't really get too far. You have to go out and expose yourself and challenge yourself with higher standards.
You know, this is way off topic, but I tell this to my parents a lot of times. To be honest, I've never won a national title, a singles title or something, but I just know that for sure. If I win that, it's just not going to give me any pleasure or any satisfaction. I want to seek more outside, and I'm really happy that I can somewhat relate to what you're explaining.
Mm.
So it gives me comfort in knowing that okay, what I'm seeking out now is a challenge to myself. So I'm quite happy about that. Now, George,
It's
sorry.
not only about sport. You're being forced to learn a new language. You're being forced to become, you know, um, have more self-control in your dealings with people because you're a stranger in a strange place.
Yeah,
Now, you
exactly.
have to connect to people who are very different from you, who don't know your background. It's not like they're your cousins or they're your friends from long time. You're forcing to grow not just as a badminton player, but as a human being. And it's a wonderful experience you're having. And it's really, we're in the big picture of things. It's not really about sport. It's about life. It's about growing as a person. And the
Uh,
sport is an opportunity to grow faster.
I really agree with you because especially with these tough times with Corona, I feel like I've begun to understand there's much more than badminton. 2 years ago, I couldn't get my mind off of it. In a way, as in I want results and I want to perform, travel here, compete there, whatever, whatever. But now with the challenge of COVID-19, of course, I've been have the I've had the opportunities to learn about so much more people, about the culture here, about myself, because, like you said, I've had to make myself deal with people a lot more in different ways. We have to relate on the same level sometimes because we're not very close, like you said.
Which too, yes.
Exactly. So it's been a struggle from the start, actually. But I mean, I can feel like now I'm getting better with the challenges.
And you're adapting and growing. And as we spoke about earlier,
Yeah.
as you surmount these challenges, you get more confidence for the next challenges, more enthusiasm, and more of
Yeah.
a attitude that says, "Bring it on! I can deal with this. Give it to me."
Yeah. And it's not just about confidence in badminton, but also confidence in life. Like what happens next, I should be ready for it because I've faced all the challenges before.
Yeah, like a deep sense of inner trust. Would you say, where you
Yeah.
know that whatever comes, you can take care of it.
Yeah. And to be honest, I'm going through something quite tough right now, but I can feel like I'm getting through it fine because I'm handling it day by day and just doing what I have to do and facing it as strong as I can. So
Yeah, and this is one of the things that sport is really good at teaching us. It
wow.
teaches us how to be strong, how to adapt, how to grow, how to face challenges. Otherwise, if you didn't have this and you just stayed and everything was comfortable and everything was easy and you got spoiled, you'd be a very weak person. and you get pushed around by your environment. When things were hard, you give up. When things were scary, you'd be terrified. When you're dealing with an angry person, you would get angry. Whereas this way, you have more control over yourself to rise above your environment. So when things are difficult, you can, rise to the challenge. When things are even scary, terrifying, you can have so much control over yourself that you can be playful in the face of danger, in the face of a threat. And if you're dealing with someone who's really ignorant and angry, instead of them pulling you down to their level, you can have so much more control over yourself. So instead of you being pulled down, you can lift them up to your level, and then you can harmonize with them and rationalize with them and have a very positive interaction instead of one where two people get angry and have an argument or a fight. You have that
Yeah,
much control over yourself that you can start to control your environment.
and then you can at least communicate on the same frequency.
So this sports stuff, it's about really about getting control of ourselves, and this control over ourselves exerts its influence into all other areas of our life.
George, to be honest, I didn't think I'll be getting such deep answers just when we're talking about your career highlights, and I must say I am seriously impressed.
We're diving right in.
Yeah, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm I'm happy. This is what I'm here for.
We can touch back on the highlights. So, it was a long career. I was really focused for a really long time.
Yeah.
I'm very committed to this path. I sacrificed a lot. From a young age, I was going before school, 5 o'clock in the morning. Then again, after school, I was doing things most other people weren't. I had a core group of friends that were doing it as well. But it really was difficult. It was very difficult. I'm not sure I could do it again. It was very hard, but it was necessary. It was so necessary. Now, a lot of my friends were also elite athletes, Olympic medalists, and they've had a very difficult time letting go of the identity of themselves as the athlete. They're not able to really zoom out and see it clearly for what it is. Now, to see that the sport wasn't just about the sport and the competitions, it was about the self-mastery, it was about the growth. And that if you commit to this path, you become your own reward, not the gold medal, not the world record. You are your own reward based on how much you have grown. And I look back on my whole swimming career as a type of mental and physical slavery, very extreme, very, very, very difficult. Regular people will never be able to understand how difficult it was, how hard I had to push myself, constantly overcoming challenges and injuries, and very extreme moments of weakness in these challenges that I had to push through. And I look back on that as very difficult, but very necessary because the results were so worth the effort. The type of self-awareness and self-control that I now enjoy as a result of that, I simply could not have gotten any other way. Whether you want to think about it as a sport or, hello, it's really a path to self-mastery. It's a discipline. It could be like martial arts or meditation. It's a way to get more self-awareness and self-control.
I like the way you use the word, the phrases, mental and physical slavery, but why would you call it slavery? If you enjoyed it and if you loved it, why would you call it slavery?
Like long ago in the Mediterranean, they used to have those ships that were powered by people, and they got chained and they had to like row this oar, and they didn't get fed very much, and they died, and they threw them overboard, and they like capture some more and put them in there. Swimming, you're up and down a black line. It is very solitary. It's very difficult. You can't even breathe when you want to breathe. And the human body has to spend a lot of time moving in the water to understand how to move in the water, because it doesn't come very naturally to us. We have to learn to swim. Whereas you don't really learn to walk, you just walk. You don't really learn to run, you just run. Swimming takes a lot of time. It is very difficult.
Wow. George, before we get much deeper into self-mastery, I just want to talk about your national awards from Trinidad and Tobago, such as the Shakonia Gold and Hummingbird Gold. What can you say about these?
These are great honors. I don't think about them very often. I don't think that I haven't seen them since I was really given them. I don't think many people in Trinidad even know that I have these awards. I don't think many people in Trinidad even care that I have these awards. It is just something I got along my path. I don't really think about them too much. But they are great honors, and I'm grateful that the country considered me worthy of these awards.
Yeah. Now, you've been in the pool again for a long time, 25 plus years, big events, major results. And we're talking about self-mastery and all these challenges, what they have taught you, the discipline and the mental physical slavery. But what would you say is the biggest lesson that swimming has taught you after all these years?
Well, it's taught me some of the biggest lessons. It taught me humility. It taught me patience. It taught me how to win without pride and how to lose without being defeated. Now, winning without pride is a big challenge. We see many athletes rise to the top, and with this meteoric rise, their ego grows. They have enough control over themselves to perform well, but they don't have enough control over themselves to really control their ego. There was this Japanese Zen monk. They practice different art forms in Zen to sort of on their mindfulness. And he shot, I can't remember how many it was. I was watching this film. He shot a series of arrows, one after the other, bullseye after bullseye. Some arrows even split other arrows. And at the end of all his arrows, all of them were perfect. He smiled and he kind of did like this little And they asked him afterwards, this monk, they asked him, how was that? It was perfect. He said, no, that was a failure. I lost control of myself at the very end and I celebrated.
Okay, but at the same time, you put all this work.
Ego came out. So you have to learn how to win without pride, how to be a champion, but not feel like it's all coming from you. You have to understand that it's really flowing through you. You have to be worthy of it. And the truth is, we're always getting proud of our blessings. So you're going to work really, really hard, right, for a really long time, and you're going to get good. And very often, as you get good, your pride starts to grow, and you start to think it's all coming from you. And every legend and every culture warns that the pride always comes before the fall. It's like when you're feeling the most invincible, that's when you'll just get struck down by life. But the suffering that comes to humble you is really a blessing, because humility is such a virtue. And that's what it takes to be the end result of the journey, is to go through it, learn how to lose without being defeated, keep struggling, keep struggling, keep struggling. Eventually you start to win. And then you learn how to win without pride. You learn how to get control of your physical body. You learn how to get control of your mind. And you learn how to get control of the shadow aspects of your mind, like your pride that want to come out. And then you can remain detached, and you can say that, well, sport is just something I'm doing as a path to growth, but it's not really who I am.
Wow. Now, huge lessons, of course. But after all these years, of swimming, and what have you been up to, honestly? After Rio, you quit, and I just need to know what's been on your mind, or what have you been keeping occupied with? I can see that you're still swimming and you're a freediving expert, but what else are you doing now?
Oh yes, well, there's some things we need to explore on the previous topic before we get to this, so we can close that.
Sure.
I wanted to help our viewers understand some important concepts that I learned. You asked me what was the one most important thing.
Yes.
I don't really have one thing. I have a few things that will be very helpful to people who want to follow on a similar path. The path to self-mastery through sport. Um, some of these things that I understood before, but I'm able to explain them more clearly now because I can use things that come from Ayurveda, which is traditional Indian medicine for thousands of years. I'm a very avid student of this, as well as some things that come from traditional Amazonian medicine. I'm also very interested in this field as well. I think it's important also to understand that in our sporting performance, our performance as an athlete can only be an expression of us. And the more healthy and strong we are, the more great our performances will be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I talk about the times when you're most positive, your mind is the most positive, where you're thinking, you know, I can do this, I'm capable, I'm ready. You tend to manifest that in your life. Then there are the times where your time might be, oh, I don't know if I'm ready, I'm tired, I don't feel well, or you're distracted, or you're thinking about some girl or some project or some worry that's just taking you away, and you're getting totally distracted and negative, and your performance suffers. Do you ever have that as well?
Yeah, of course there are distractions. There's many distractions, but I just need to learn how to control my emotions, I guess.
Or when you're getting a little bit down, a little bit negative, a little bit pessimistic?
Yeah, sometimes I can doubt myself. And I can be in good shape. I can be feeling good mentally, but maybe when I walk into the sports hall or something, I just feel okay, it's not gonna happen today. Or maybe this team looks strong or this opponent looks quite good. You know, so self-doubt has been could be a major downfall in my mind.
Okay, so I'm going to borrow, this is something that is, I'm just the messenger. This is coming from like traditional Amazonian medicine.
Okay.
Anything, and Ayurveda, anything in nature that is healthy is strong. Health and strength are synonymous, they go together.
Okay.
Okay, anything in nature that is sick is weak.
Okay, you want to elaborate for us?
Yes. Now, we need to look at our life as a whole and try to understand, what are we taking in? Is it really making us stronger, or is it weakening us? Is it medicine to make us stronger, or is it poison to take our power away? Now, there are things that we are doing that are making us better, but there are things that most people are doing that are also making them worse. So you have these two opposite forces. Now, if you want to get really good at sport or anything in life, you want to cut out the things that weaken you. Now, when we are healthy, we have a healthy mind and we think in ways that are very healthy. We actually want what's good for us because we're thinking in healthy ways. And by going after what is good for us, it makes us more healthy and more strong. Now, this health and strength, it's also in the mind. So your mind is very strong to be able to push through those moments of weakness.
Okay.
Your mind is very strong to be able to resist temptation. Your mind is very strong so you can have the discipline to make sometimes a decision that's all about some short-term pain, but long-term gain. A sacrifice, struggle.
Yeah.
Now, when we get sick, our mind also gets sick. We get weak, our mind gets weak. And we tend to think in ways that are sick, and we want what's bad for us. And by going after what's bad for us, it makes us even more sick, even more weak. So we think in more sick ways. We want even more of what's bad for us. And it becomes like a downward spiral.
But what's more bad for you in what way? Because when you're sick, okay, you're seeking after some medicine or something. So
I'm not talking just about the physical body being ill.
yeah.
I'm talking about health and strength on a holistic perspective.
Okay.
Sickness and weakness on a holistic perspective.
Yeah.
So this type of sickness and weakness, it's more mental. And because the mind gets sick, you make bad decisions to then make the body physically sick. You have cravings for bad things that are bad for you. You go after those bad things, bad food, bad substances, bad relationships, bad environments. And you're drawn to these things because your mind is not thinking properly. You're thinking in sick ways, and by going after these things, they make you even more sick. This is like the root of addiction. You start smoking crack, start to make you weak and sick. You start to think in more negative ways. You want more of what's bad for you. And at the same time, you're losing your willpower. You're losing your ability to be strong, to resist the temptation. So maybe you even know it's bad for you, but you can't stop. You want more and more and more, and you're spiraling down, getting weaker and getting more sick and thinking in more negative ways as you spiral down to defeat, destruction, decay, weakness.
Yeah.
Well, the opposite is also true. When you are very strong and you think in very healthy ways, you want what's really good for you, you go after that and you do the extra, or you eat the healthy food, you situate yourself in a healthy environment, you surround yourself with healthy relationships, you wholeheartedly do not want what's bad for you. You can see clearly because you can think clearly in a healthy way. You can see what's bad for you and you say, no, don't want those things. Those things weaken me. And you go after what makes you stronger. And in this way, you cultivate an upward spiral. Now, any great success is the result of a good upward spiral. But very often for people, it becomes circumstantial. The positive environment, the positive people, it just happens to line up and it gets them in a good upward spiral. But if you understand how it works, then you can consciously cultivate an upward spiral. And in this upward spiral is the strength, it is the health. And by avoiding the things that weaken us, we avoid the times that we get pulled down into downward spirals, where we end up hanging out with the wrong people, doing the wrong things that we know are bad for us, that weaken us, that make us more sick.
But okay, how does one know what's good or bad for them? Because what might be good for me might be bad for others. So how do you really define what's good or bad for you?
All right, that's a good question. That's a very good question. It can be subjective. I'm talking about understanding what's good for you in the deepest sense, where you say, that is what I need. That is going to make me stronger. That is going to make me more healthy. That's a good choice for me to have the best possible life.
Okay.
And maybe you might realize that, okay, I need to stop eating this garbage, or maybe I need to stop drinking, or maybe I need to stop smoking, or maybe I need to stop doing drugs, or maybe instead I'm going to do some yoga or some pranayama or some meditation, or instead of getting pulled into my mind being so weak that I'm tempted by my Instagram and going and just wasting time, let me pull out a book and read something that will be very useful. Learn a skill, upgrade myself, instead of just distracting and entertaining myself. And that takes discipline, that takes willpower, it takes inner strength. Because when you're thinking properly, you want what's good for you. And by going after what's good for you, it makes you even more healthy and think in more healthy ways. Now, these are spirals. And at the highest level, if you spiral up, this is health and strength. This is victory energy. This is life energy in its purest form.
Wow, George.
You spiral down. It is weakness. It is decay. It is death energy. Now remember, as you get more healthy, with more health comes more strength, more willpower, more self-awareness and self-control. So you get more conscious, more self-aware as you get higher. And as you spiral down and you get more sick and weak, you lose your self-awareness and you lose your self-control. You have no more control over yourself. The drugs are stronger than you. The addiction is stronger than you. The bad habit is stronger than you are. You can't stop. You're weak. You don't have the courage. You don't have the discipline. Whereas as you get higher, spiraling up, you get more courage, more discipline, more willpower, more self-control, more self-awareness. This is victory energy. And spiraling down, weakness, defeat, decay, passivity. That is, sorry, my light went off. That is weakness.
To
be the best athlete, you want to cultivate an upward spiral in everything that you do. You need to look at your whole life as medicine or poison. Is this lifting me up or is this pulling me down? And by cutting out the things that pull you down and weaken you, and going after the things that lift you up and strengthen you. That is how you get higher and higher. So it is consciously saying, well, I'm going to sometimes take a little short-term pain for long-term gain. I'm going to stay and do that extra. I'm going to be disciplined. I'm going to limit my Instagram to 5-10 minutes, not lose half an hour of time. I'm not going to do that I know is bad for me.
Yeah.
And by cultivating this spiral, you get higher and higher, you get more willpower so that you can surmount these challenges.
Now you keep repeating one thing when you say one moment of pain can, help you in the long run for a long, long time, mentally, physically. Now, I just want to ask you, okay, I'm a big fan of this movie called, what is it called? Unbroken. I don't know if you've seen it before. It's about some guys who went to war and stuff, and they were trapped in this boat, middle of the sea, for I think 30 days or more. And he kept saying to himself, one moment of pain can last me a lifetime of glory, because they were being tortured and stuff in a Japanese camp. Can you relate in the same way?
Definitely. That's an example of mental strength. The ability to have so much control over yourself that you can willingly take some short-term pain for long-term gain. But when you don't have that mental strength, you're easily tempted by some short-term gain. I'm going to take a little bit of pleasure. I'm going to enjoy this thing that I really think is so nice, but I know is bad for at the expense of some future long-term pain. So maybe I'm going to party, I'm going to do all these things that I know are bad for me, and I'm going to enjoy myself today, but I'll be suffering for that and I won't progress. That's an example of someone who has a weak mind. They cannot resist the temptation. They don't have the inner strength to see the temptation and recognize it. First of all, the self-awareness to recognize that it's bad.
Mm-hmm.
Self-control to say, nope, I'm not taking that excuse. I'm not going down that road. I'm staying on the path.
Wow.
What a real champion is someone who has that inner power, that inner control. To
inner
not
strength.
resist the temptation of negative things outside, even morally negative things. They can be good. You have to be strong to be good, a good person. You have to be strong to be honest and moral. And you have to be strong to resist the perfect excuse when it comes in your moment of weakness and your challenge. So your opponent will give up because he's tired, and you will not take the excuse that you're tired and you won't give up. And by doing so, you'll break his will because your will is stronger than his will. And that's what competition really is in sport. It's a battle of wills. Whose will is stronger? Who is more internally strong? Because very often, the person who is physically stronger loses to the person who might be physically weaker, but has more inner mental strength. We see that all the time.
Yeah, there's, well, in my opinion, there's badminton, two top players in the past who I can, in my opinion, I can say one has been much more mentally stronger than the other and has dominated for quite some time. So I think I can say that I have some, not experience, but I can relate to what you're saying in some way regarding those two players.
So this concept of medicine and poison, it extends even to our internal dialogue, man.
Mm-hmm.
The words that you speak to yourself with in your own mind can be medicine or poison. They can strengthen you or weaken you. But what tends to happen with most people is when things get difficult outside and you're starting to feel tired, or maybe you're starting to feel weak, or maybe you're starting to feel or see the temptations that are tempting you to take that short-term gain, long-term pain. At that moment when we need to be most healthy and most strong, we tend to give ourselves poison in the form of negative internal speech. We say, oh, I'm tired, oh, I'm weak, oh, I had that exam, oh, next week I'll do it. And that is when you need to be the most strong. So when it's being difficult, you have to consciously step in and start to give yourself medicinal words in your mind and say, no, I'm strong. No, I'm ready. I'm capable. I trained. I am feeling so good. I love this. Instead of saying, I hate this, I love this. Bring it on.
But there's always a but.
No. When you're strong, when you're really strong, there is no but. You have to understand these words are not just words. They're not just pieces of language. They are packages of energy with corresponding emotion. Now, when an eagle is flying high in the sky, there is not a single but. There's not a single thought of falling out of the sky. There is mastery. There's total control, total trust of yourself, total self-confidence. When you see that eagle flying, it never, ever, ever thinks about falling out of the sky. Never. It never occurs to it. So when you're really healthy and you are really strong, the thought of losing, the thought of giving up, the thought of making a mistake never occurs to you.
Doesn't exist.
You're singularly focused on the positive outcome. No matter how you feel, no matter what's happening. And in that way, your mind remains so strong, you maintain your focus, and your body corresponds and stays strong and holds out. Because the body is like a faithful horse. It will give its last breath for you, and it will kill itself if your mind is capable of pushing it that far. Now, inner strength is where you have a mind that is so strong that you can have that type of self-control. And that self-control comes from a type of self-awareness as well. And we get this by cultivating an upward spiral, going after what's good for us, avoiding what's bad for us. And this is in all areas. This is in our relationships, in our food, in our environment, in the way we speak to ourselves, in the company we keep. It's everything can be medicinal or poisonous. Our whole environment, our whole life is our energetic diet. And you have the choice to choose what's good for you and avoid what's bad for you. And the more you do that, the more positive and more healthy and more clear everything will become. Yeah. Now, this idea of health and strength, I just want to drive this point home with this one little example. Sure. If we look at a gazelle in African savanna, the gazelle is healthy and strong. It knows on a very deep level that it is healthy and strong. And so it trusts itself that no matter what happens, what comes up, it will be able to handle itself. So if there's a lion, the gazelle is not threatened by the lion. The gazelle knows that it's healthy and strong. And if that lion even tries, it can go, can leave it. And the lion can sense that inner strength. It can sense that power, that confidence that the gazelle exudes when it's healthy. And that lion knows not to even try to waste any energy going after that gazelle, because it's too strong and it's too healthy, it doesn't have a chance. So the lion instead creeps through the tall grass and it starts to go and look for the gazelle that's old and weak and sick. And that weak and sick gazelle, instead of having confidence, it has fear. It doesn't trust itself. No. It knows that if something comes, it's not going to be ready. So it's afraid. And that fear, that energy that it's exuding out of it, that we call fear, is like dinner bells for the lion saying, eat me, I'm easy, you can get me. Now, we are also animals. Everything that we are doing is communicating strength or weakness. And you're even communicating strength or weakness to yourself. So by going into an arena, you need to be in a state where you have so much confidence, so much health, so much strength, that you're exuding this confidence, this power, and you trust yourself on a very deep level, that maybe your match comes down to the one point. And like the eagle who has no thought of falling out of the sky, you have no thought of not winning. Total mastery, total control, total faith, total belief. And because of that, it happens. You make it happen. You guarantee the future. Now, that's what makes a leader, a natural leader. Unfortunately, in the world we live in, it's gotten very corrupt. And leaders now have to dominate people and manipulate people to lead, to be able to control them. But the way of nature is not like that. In the way of nature, it is leading without dominating. It is where people are animals, people are naturally inclined to follow those who are so strong, so healthy, they have zero doubts, zero fears, 100% trust in themselves. And no matter what happens, they'll be okay. They guarantee the future. And when someone has that type of energy, that's natural leadership energy. That's natural alpha energy. And people are gravitated towards that. You know why? Because they feel safe with those type of people. They feel good. They become better versions of themselves around those type of people. Because they are so healthy and strong, they make others feel healthy and strong. That is a real champion. When you have that, you're unstoppable. And when you really have that, you're in control of it and you understand it and you don't let the pride come out.
I'll have a question regarding that, right? Now, people around you will feel better about themselves. Now, that can also give you a chance to kind of manipulate them in some way, can't it? But it's also about controlling your pride and your ego, not to try to control them or dominate their thoughts, or if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, you're not dominating them at all. It's about love. When you're really healthy and strong,
yeah,
instead of having any thoughts of fear, all your thoughts are about love. You love people. You're not afraid of people. The reason we tend to be afraid of others is because we, on a deep unconscious level, we might feel threatened by them. Mm-hmm. But if you're so strong and so healthy, you trust yourself no matter what. You're not threatened by anything. You have no fear, only love. And remember this spiral. As you get more healthy, you think in more healthy ways. Thinking based on fear and manipulating others, that's a sick way of thinking. That's weak. That's how weak people think. When you're really strong and you're really healthy, you're thinking in such a healthy way that you love other people. And that your whole purpose of life becomes, how can I express myself as a gift of love to the world that I love? So that when my time comes, I can die complete. Whereas when you're sick, fear is a sickness of the spirit. When you're sick, you are weak. And because you are weak, you are afraid. And that's when you need to control, you need to manipulate. You're afraid. You're afraid. It's unnatural leadership. Whereas when you're healthy and strong, you trust. Now, a good example of this in history, there was one city that never had any walls. Sparta. It was the only city that didn't have any big defensive walls around the outside. You know the history of Sparta?
Not really, to be honest.
Okay, so Sparta was this very interesting social experiment that happened in ancient Greece. The city lasted like 800 or 1,000 years, very long time. And the way they structured themselves was that instead of being merchants or artists, they all trained for war all the time. All the Spartans were warriors. From the time they were little boys, they got trained to be warriors. So that was their profession. It was a city of warriors who trained all the time to be hard and strong and very, very skillful in martial combat. Now, they were so good at war and fighting that nobody would want to mess with them. So they never spent all the money and the resources to build giant walls around the city. They were so strong inside that they could be soft outside. Mm-hmm. And when you are really strong and secure inside, you can be gentle outside. You don't feel threatened. If you are weak inside, then you need to be all tough outside. If you're a city of a bunch of merchants, not warriors, build big walls, like Athens. Athens had warriors too, though. But this is true with us. If you're really strong inside, you can be soft, you can be gentle, you can be kind. If you're weak inside, then you have to be tough outside and talk in a very artificially deep voice and curse a lot and try to fool people into thinking that you're tougher than you really are so they don't mess with you. But if you're really confident and comfortable and secure with yourself, you can be relaxed. You don't need to prove anything to anybody. And this is also carries over into your sport, because when you're competing now, you don't have to prove anything to anybody that you are a champion. You trust yourself, you're secure with yourself. You know you're only human, you're perfectly imperfect, and you're okay with that. And your identity, your value as a person is no longer wrapped up in your performance. But a lot of people, they get sort of conditioned from a very young age to think that love is conditional love, because maybe their parents only gave them affection or praise if they did something really good. They had to always feel that they were worthy of love. Now, these people tend to grow up to be very damaged individuals. And when we see them in sport, they feel they need to win. They need to show everybody that they are the champion, that they are the best, that they are good, so that they can feel worthy of the love of other people, and more importantly, worthy of their own love. So they have all this swag, all this bravado. When they win, a million selfies, a million, look at me, look, I'm doing good. I finally won. Why? You have to ask yourself, why are those people doing that? Why do they need that external validation? Why do they need so much love and praise from outside? It's because inside they don't feel worthy. If you're
Okay, but
really strong inside, you're secure. Then you can start to do something that is very special in sport. Instead of competing, you can start to do sport as an art form. Or instead of worrying about being afraid of losing, and having your value as a person tied up in the idea of winning or losing, then you can approach your craft, badminton, swimming, golf, whatever, as a path to self-mastery. Like, I'm practicing an art form. I'm going to take myself into some very intense, difficult situations and practice controlling myself and controlling my mind, controlling how I speak to myself, how I breathe myself, how present I am. And you start to do it as an art form, and then your whole game will take on something that, instead of being desperate, you ever watch a player and you can immediately tell that person is desperate. When you look at someone and it is the opposite of desperate, and they have grace, but they're amazing, they're performing so well, but it's like playful instead of desperate. This is somebody who's healthy. This is someone who's strong. This is somebody who's practicing an art form. Now, if you start to go through your life and you cut out all the poisons and you get more of the medicines, you too will get more healthy and more strong. And your fear will leave you. And instead of the fear, you'll have playfulness. Playfulness is really the love of life. The opposite of fear is not courage. The opposite of fear is playfulness. Courage is the process of moving from fear to playfulness. You'll be playful. You love it. 100% love, 100% enjoyment. It'll come down to that match point and you'll love it. You're like, oh, I love the drama. So thrilling. I love it when it happens like this. Oh, it's going to feel so good when I win this point on the crutch time, the most crucial time. Oh, I love it. What a great day I'm having. Instead of it being like, oh shit, oh no, it's that happened last time. Will it happen again? Oh, I messed up. Oh, don't mess up. Oh gosh, here we go. No, that's weakness. That's sickness. That's fear. That's someone who doesn't trust themselves because they know they're not strong. Someone who can be playful and enjoy it and love it is someone who is strong and healthy, because they are so strong that their own value as a person is not coming from anything external.
you know, George, I know this interview was going to be quite deep, not just for myself, but for the viewers as well. And right now, I just feel not like I'm interviewing you, but more like you're mentoring me. And I'm really happy about it. I'm happy. It's a great honor for me to learn so much from you and from what you've been through and how you can share knowledge. So thank you. If you don't mind, and if you're finished with the past topic, I want to talk to you more about Ayurveda and why did you begin studying? I can see that you went to India and stuff and you spent some time there. So yeah, and of course, if you have the time to talk about these things, I have time. And if you're willing to, I'm open to, yeah.
Yes, my whole athletic career, my many years of coaching myself with that's one thing about coming from Trinidad is you're forced to look out and learn and grow. And I became my own science experiment. I was very interested in how I understood that how healthy I was directly corresponding to how well I performed. So when you understand that, like physical health, so I started to get very conscious of my diet, what I was taking in. And I had a very objective way of measuring what was good for me, what was working for me. I could look and practice and say, well, how fast was I able to swim today? I could go in the gym and be like, how heavy were the weights that I was able to lift today? How strong am I? Every day I could measure and measure and measure and understand what type of food was really good for me, what type of food was not good for me, what type of lifestyle, maybe eating later, eating earlier, waking up late, waking up early, going to bed late. What type of lifestyle things were helping me and what type of lifestyle things were hurting me. Then I found Ayurveda when I finished swimming. And Ayurveda is basically ancient Indian medicine, but it's so much more. The words Ayurveda means, Ayu means life, Veda means knowledge or way of seeing. And it's a whole, it's a library of knowledge, but it contains in it an operating manual for having a Homo sapien organism. How to take care of this bio-robot that we are incarnated into so that you can enjoy the greatest possible health and longevity and strength. And when you understand that that type of information is really worth knowing, and how good it is for your life, as I did, I understood this so that I went to learn from a real master in India, and I've gone 3 visits and I study and I learn as an apprentice for many months at a time, learning from a traditional Ayurvedic practitioner. It's a family of Brahmin people and I live with them and get exposed to the customs. It's wonderful. And I love Ayurveda and incorporate it into everything I do. It's a way of seeing, it's a way of understanding nature so that we can always be working in harmony with nature. For the greatest benefit, instead of working against nature. Anytime we go against nature, we cause problems and we suffer. Anytime we are against nature, we big problems. And this applies to everything. The more unnatural we become, the more sick we become.
Can I ask you a personal question? Well, might be personal to you. I can see the bands on your hand, and I'm guessing that they came from India as well. But what is the meaning behind it, if you don't mind telling me or us?
I have a bracelet. It's a snake eating its tail.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a symbol of like infinity. It's an ancient symbol called the Ouroboros.
Okay, and what's the meaning of it?
And the snake is a medicinal symbol as well, you know?
Yeah.
It's a very special object for me. And I have some bracelets that I have got on different quests. And they have significance to me as well. I wear them. I like to believe that you can carry these things as sort of like a souvenir, a connection to a past experience that was a good one. Maybe it can even be sort of something that imbues you with that type of energy from a certain place.
Would you choose the bracelets? Okay, well, not would you choose, of course you choose, but why not choose a tattoo over the bracelet?
This one bracelet comes from a very powerful temple, very, very ancient temple in India, one of them. And it's been blessed there. It's very positive thing, very positive object. I like to wear it. This other one comes from another temple and it's been blessed there. It's very positive.
Yeah.
And the snake bracelet comes from Peru. And I have been to Peru 7 different trips to study and learn about traditional Amazonian medicine and diet plants in the jungle, which is a whole challenge in itself. Each dieta requires a lot of fasting, a lot of austerities. You can't go in the sun, you can't look at fire, you can't eat food with any taste. You can't have any release of sexual energy for a month. And you consume the essence of this plant, and this plant starts to teach you on a very deep level. It starts to upgrade you. And if you're worthy, then you get the wisdom of the plant and the power of the plant. And different plants in traditional Amazonian medicine have different teachers that teach different subjects. And it's a great, it's one of the coolest things I've ever come across in my life. Maybe the coolest. Yeah, I really love it and hope to continue to go down this path.
Okay. I've only been to I've only been to Peru, I think, 3 times for tournaments, so I can't really relate. George, do you think that if you discovered Ayurveda earlier in your swimming career, that it could have or would have made a difference with your?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely, 100%. There was
How?
something. How?
Yeah.
I would have been taking better care of my organism. I would have recovered faster. I would have been more healthy, my body would have been more clean.
Your organism as in your body and your mind.
Yes, and the mind. The body and the mind are not separate. We like to think of them as separate, but what you put in the body, you also put in your mind. And what happens in the mind also happens in the body. So disturbance in your mind disturbs your nervous system, and that disturbs your endocrine system. It disturbs your breathing. It causes tension, and the body and the mind are not separate. And it's important also to understand this. If you want to have a good mind, you have to take control of your body. You have to breathe your body properly, breathe your organism. Hold your organism properly, hold it upright.
Okay.
Open yourself up, because if you're feeling scared and timid, you tend to crouch over. You feel negative, you hide yourself. By opening yourself, you're telling yourself that everything is okay. Also, the muscles in your face. You have so many nerves in our face that if you're frowning, it sends a very powerful message to your nervous system that says everything is not okay. Watch out. Be careful. Stress. If you turn the corners of your mouth up just into a quarter smile, and maybe raise your eyebrows up a little bit, you send a very powerful message to your nervous system that says everything is okay. And then your mind calms down, because your mind is no longer looking out for danger, worrying what could go wrong. So by breathing in your organism, holding your organism properly, controlling your facial muscles, you send very powerful signals to your body that corresponds to your mind to make your mind more positive. And food as well, what you put in your body, if you put very negative food in your body, your mind tends to get negative as well. If you put very positive food in your body, your mind will get more positive. Think more positive thoughts. Your comprehension will be more clear. Your memory will be superior. If you want to be good, it's about going after what is medicinal for you. And even the state of your being, the way that you're allowing your physical body to exist can be medicine or poison. Because if your nervous system is stressed, your organism is prioritizing short-term survival at the expense of long-term maintenance and upkeep. So it's watching out for danger and what could go wrong and worrying, instead of being relaxed and cleaning and healing and deleting bad copies of itself. So by controlling your organism and your breathing, you can exist in a state that's medicinal, will be more healthy, you'll age more slowly, and you'll be able to think in a way that's more clear and more positive, more creative.
I just want to go back to one not topic, but sorry?
Yes, definitely. I would recommend, if you want to really be as successful and healthy as possible, it's very easy. There's a whole library of information here in Ayurveda. Go and explore it. It's worth your time.
Oh yeah, I would love to sit and talk with you much more about Ayurveda, believe me. But the question I want to ask you is actually referring to your books. You talked about books earlier and having discipline to read books instead of entertaining yourself with Instagram or Facebook or whatever. So besides the Ayurveda books, of course, which you must be reading quite often to study it, what else are you reading? What do you spend? How do you use your discipline in investing in books? Based on what?
Oh, what am I reading right now? Is that the question?
In general, what do you read in general on what do you read right now? Yes.
Oh, I'm always reading. Right now I'm reading a book on technical analysis and stock market profits. It's about.
Can you repeat that, please?
I'm reading a book called Technical Analysis and Stock Market Profits.
Okay.
And I'm reading another book by Swami Vivekananda called Raja Yoga. I'm a big fan of his writings. Okay. Recommend them to anyone. So I'm interested in learning about things from my work. So I'm reading a lot of books about trading and markets, the way markets move, and the way to read the charts, like reading a language.
Okay, I didn't know that you were into trading, so good to know. George, before I get into talking to you a bit about motivation and inspiration for younger athletes around the world and in Trinidad and Tobago, I just want to talk to you a bit about Dylan Carter. Now, Dylan is quite a good swimmer, and he's on his way to Tokyo this year, as you might be aware. And I just want to ask you, what do you think, or what do you make of Dylan Carter's chances at the Olympics of getting a medal?
I think Dylan Carter is very talented. I think he's having a great year. I think he's got a wonderful head on his shoulders. He's also a fiery competitor. I think that when he's in a situation with a lot of pressure, like a big competition, the biggest competition like the Olympics, I think in a situation like that, it will bring out the best in him. I'm expecting great performances from him. I can't say whether he will win a medal. I think he definitely has a chance to win a medal, but this is the drama of sport. This is why everybody watches. This is why it's exciting even.
Yeah, okay, coolio. I'm sure Dylan would appreciate your thoughts anyways. So motivation for young and upcoming athletes, Trinidad and Tobago, around the world, swimming and non-swimming, right? What advice would you give to them right now regarding motivation, especially during these tough times with Corona and restrictions and pandemic and not being able to train and all those stuff? How can you encourage them?
You know, this touches on some of the things that I've spoken of before. To view what you're doing, not just in this very myopic, zoomed-in view of it as I'm doing sport. See it as I'm practicing this sport as a path to self-mastery, to grow as a person, to become a stronger person, to become a more healthy person, a more self-aware person who has more self-control, and to welcome these challenges as opportunities to grow. The more difficult the path is, the better the path is in terms of how it makes you grow, and how it makes you grow faster and faster, how it helps you get more inner strength. All these challenges you're facing outside in the world is like a type of gym, making you stronger. And sport is a very, it's like a piece of equipment in the gym that's really good to make you, it's very hard to do. It's very good to make you strong. And to view it in this healthy perspective and to embrace the challenges and to pursue it as a path to self-mastery and not to value as much, not to put as much emphasis on the accolades, the championship or the medal or the record, but to value how far you've come, how much have you grown. Because if there is a person who, let's say, is very talented and the sport comes very easy to them, they might not grow as fast as somebody who the sport is very difficult for. And to see it in this light and embrace it and say, bring it on. I love these challenges. I love these lessons. And to understand that the sport is teaching you how to learn. And that you're learning, you're getting empowered with some skills as you go down this path, that when you get out of it and you go into the real world and later on in life to start to fully express yourself, you'll be empowered to be a much more powerful person, and you'll have the ability to have a greater impact on the world around you in a positive way.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sure that many are enduring the challenges right now with the pandemic, and I'm hoping that they can also see the bigger picture and the more positive side outcome of the challenges. So hopefully they also appreciate your advice.
And I hope they understand this concept of what is medicinal in their life, what is poisonous.
Yeah.
To cut the poisons that weaken them and get more of the medicines that strengthen them, even the way they speak to themselves in their own minds. To give themselves medicinal words in their mind. I'm strong, I'm healthy, I'm ready, I love this. Yeah. Instead of, I'm tired, I'm weak, I hate this.
So what you speak about, you bring about.
It is a type of energy that you're giving yourself.
Okay.
Everything is energy. Mm-hmm.
Well, I hope that these youngsters as well can also give themselves good energy and look forward to going back out again on the circuit in whichever field it may be in. George, when you didn't perform as expected to, how did you cope, and what brought you back into the water? What motivated you?
How would I deal with disappointment?
Yeah.
Okay, this is something that is important that we talk about.
I'm listening.
Sport is going to be a mirror. It is going to hold up a mirror to show you who you are. It's going to be very honest. And an individual sport is going to be the perfect mirror. If you're in a team sport, you can kind of hide behind the team, and it's like, we lost, I played good, but we lost, it's his fault or their fault. But in an individual sport like badminton or swimming or tennis, you have to take full responsibility. You have to take responsibility. And if you did well, okay, it's working, I did well. But if I did not do well, that sport is holding up a mirror to show you that, hey, look at you. This is who you are right now. You're not doing very well. Come on, let's pick it up. Let's correct ourselves. Let's clean up this mess that we've allowed to create. Then you can go back into your life and maybe change your habits. It's showing you, are you sick? Are you weak? Or are you healthy and are you strong? And if it's showing you that if you're sick and you're weak, then you need to go back and say, all right, okay, yeah, I was getting a little sloppy with that thing. I got a little complacent with that. Yeah, I was a little tempted to do that too often. And you can see yourself, and then you can go and you have the power now to go back into your life and change. And I guarantee that if the sport is holding up a mirror to you and you're not performing well and you're having disappointment in your sport, you're also not performing well in all of the other areas in your life. Because remember, the sport, your performance in the sport, it can only be an expression of who you are. So you need to go back to the drawing board and clean up the mess, cut out the bad things, get rid of the poisons, get more of the medicines. Have more inner resolve to be like, all right, I'm going to resist the temptation to take that thing that I know is not good for me. I'm going to resist the temptation to waste the time. I'm going to resist the temptation to stay up late. I'm going to resist the temptation to eat the garbage food. And the more you start to resist it, the more healthy you get, the more easier it is to resist that stuff that's bad for you. And the more wholeheartedly you will want what is good for you, which makes you more healthy and more strong. So the sport is your mirror. And it's a harsh judge. It's going to be 100% honest. It's very objective. And the thing about being an athlete is you're subjecting yourself to be judged in front of everybody. Go into the Olympic finals, everybody's watching. Everyone's going to watch if you, in your moment of weakness, break, or if you, in your moment of weakness, can soar like that eagle on big wings high in the air. Are you strong? You're going to let everybody see if you're weak or if you're strong.
I never saw it from that perspective. So thank you, George, for sharing light on that for me as well. George, for me, from what I prepared today, that's all I have. And I think I don't think that I catered for all this, to be honest. And I need to tell you, extremely grateful that you were able to share so much, to give so much knowledge to me and to the world at large. And I'm really hoping that we can touch base again and share more light on maybe Ayurveda or the medicine that you were studying in Peru. Of course, a lot more about self-mastery, but for now, I just want to thank you for your time and your energy and your interest in sharing love, positivity, and knowledge with myself and the world.
Thank you. I hope this is helpful. I felt that it would be better to get spend more time exploring these topics a little deeper than talking about I won this race, I went to this competition, I started in this place. To give people something that they can really benefit from.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm really happy that you changed path as well as you went along. And for me, it's totally fine because I knew from the beginning that what I was getting into with you, it was going to be a lot more about winning this medal or that race or going to this tournament or this meet. So I was very open-minded to you changing channels from the beginning. But really happy that you did anyways.
Okay, good. So yes, remember, take a holistic view at your life. And even the way that you are existing in your physical body is medicinal or poisonous. Breathe yourself, hold yourself properly, adjust the muscles in your face, tell yourself everything is okay. That's what you're basically doing. You're telling your biorobot, your organism, everything is fine. So when you get into that extremely stressful match point next time, raise your eyebrows, stop frowning, turn the corners of your mouth up, tell yourself everything is okay. These are signs of strength.
Yeah, thank you, George. It really means a lot.
Honestly, I think I might be as surprised as you guys as well, since this is not the regular sporting content that you'd hear from us at the Junior Sport podcast. But I'm glad that George and I had this talk. It felt more as if he was mentoring me than I was actually an interview. I have definitely learned a lot and hope that you can absorb some of the wisdom from this episode as well. It was indeed a pleasure to have such a different perspective on sport, and I'm very grateful that George has given us the opportunity. Remember, feedback is always welcome, so feel free to let me know what you think I can do better. With that being said, good luck and goodbye for now.